This is Jeremy and Nathan's Canadian filmmaking adventures.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Jeremy.
And I am Nathan.
And today we're coming to you from the home base of the Hamilton Film Festival, which is Nathan's baby.
It became my baby.
Became your baby, yeah. I think what's cool about it, though, and you, is that we have a filmmaker who started a film festival, but not on a whim. This is now what, in its how many years?
We're going into 19 years.
Going into 19 years. So this has been a long-running event, and it happens every year. And so I think you're able to give us a really unique perspective on today's topic, which is release, exhibition, distribution, all of that. This is about getting your film, your baby out there.
And you and I will talk about, broadcast and theatrical and having your movie up and available for rent, that kind of thing, because those are all things we've gone through, and it's part of our adventure. From the film festival side of things, which is typically where an independent film starts.
Right, okay.
Right, this is, I would think, the majority of independent films kind of start with the thought of a festival run.
Sure.
I always feel that what you plan to do with the movie when it's done should be thought about in pre-production.
Yes.
Like, where is this movie going to live? And that can dictate the way you craft it. Much like with Wild Child, we knew we wanted it to live on TV.
Yeah.
So we pieced it together as not a streaming show, but as a television show, right?
Yes.
You can ask yourself the similar questions as an independent filmmaker. What do you want to do when it's done before you start making it?
Right.
And that could be, film festival might be part of your strategy. Or just throwing it up on YouTube or Vimeo might be part of your strategy. If it's a feature film or documentary, getting it sold.
Yep.
So you really should be thinking about the release way in the early stages.
Right. And if I can just interject,
do.
I remember you and I, you introduced me to a casting director a little while back. And one of the things she told us was about when it comes to like casting, for example, and when she's approaching people, she wants to kind of have this story around the production and who's involved and all that. But she asked us, like, what is that thing that you're all aligned around? What is that like final outcome where you're going to sit back and say, I made that. If you can decide on what that is, and it might be streaming or it might be festival or whatever it is, that's going to become part of her pitch to an actor to say, like, you might be interested in this film because it's going to be a festival film.
Right.
And that might be really enticing to certain people who want to want to do the red carpet experience for an actor, for example. Right. So she's like, figure out what that final exciting moment is when the film is done, and everyone can kind of align around that.
Yeah. If you give it early thought, because I do have a number of filmmakers that come to me as someone running a festival, and they're like, I'm going to make a movie, and it's going to be this long. And I always say, what's your plan with it? What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
And most of the time, they're like, well, I think I'm going to, and that's where you have to stop yourself and think, I think I'm going to, like, write it down and figure out what it is you're actually going to do. Because that will give you a clearer focus on what movie you're going to make.
Absolutely.
Right? And why you're going to do it. Right?
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're going to do with it when it's done, then maybe it's not, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, it might not be fridge worthy. Maybe you're just doing it for experience.
Yeah, and that's
which is
okay
totally
too.
fine. Which is totally fine.
Yeah.
But know it when you're going into it. Say, I'm just doing this for the experience, or I'm just doing this because I want to get something done, or I just want something for my YouTube channel. Those are all fine reasons to do it, but know what they are, and be firm with them, saying, this is what I'm going to do. This is my strategy. If you're going into looking for funding, a lot of them will require this discoverability document. And I think it's a great thing for filmmakers to go through to figure out how people are going to discover your movie.
Yeah.
And fill out this document, even if you're not applying for funding, because it really makes you think, like, how are people going to see this movie? Is it going to be a festival run? Are you going to do community screenings? Are you going to partner with another organization to run some community type screenings?
Yes.
Is it going to just live for free on Vimeo, or are you going to create an on-demand channel? Are you going to try to contact some streamers and get it out? And if you are, I know Netflix has a specific technical requirements, right? It has to be shot on a certain camera, right? If you're starting off and you're like, oh, I think I'm going to try to approach Netflix. Do you know what their technical requirements are? No, I don't. I didn't know they had them.
Yeah.
You should probably look at that before you start shooting your movie if this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a movie and I'm going to submit it. It's a short film. I'm going to submit it to this festival. Well, have you checked the length requirement for a short film for that festival? Well, no, I haven't. You should probably do that before you start going into production. If that festival is your dream, then you need to know all this stuff well in advance.
Yeah.
So in order to release a movie, you have to start very early to think about that process.
Yeah, it's very true. And we talked last time about, through the post-production process, finding a way to kind of really dig into your vision and to, bring that out, that expression through your project. That's kind of one of your last times to do it, right? Now we're kind of talking about taking that, you have to kind of set that on top of like an existing avenue for distribution, or do you know what I mean? You have to, you might have to mold that a little bit,
right,
to suit the marketplace.
Yeah,
if that's what you're interested in doing.
Yeah. If you're just throwing it up on YouTube, then there's no rules, right? You make it whatever length you want, and away you go. The sound doesn't even have to be great. Like you can,
I know
you can literally put anything up on YouTube, right? Aside from a few things.
Yeah,
but you may have to fit the mold in some ways.
Right, yes.
And they may be technical requirements, right? Or creative requirements if they only accept certain type of content, right?
Right.
Certain broadcasters may only accept a certain genre of feature if you're trying to sell it, right?
Yeah. Since we have a director of a festival here, let me ask you a couple questions about that, because you see a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys have some sort of judging process. Yep. Can you talk a bit about that? What are your criteria, or how do you view films, or how do you make selections?
Okay, so a film comes to us through Film Freeway now.
Yeah.
We get hundreds of movies through that platform.
It's kind of the standard, I guess, is it?
It's standard, yeah. It's very standard. Film Freeway is like a submission platform. You upload your movie once, you create a profile, and then you submit that profile to multiple film festivals.
Yeah,
it's very inexpensive. Because not that long ago, we used to have to send a physical copy to every film festival.
Yeah, I remember. Oh my gosh.
When I talk to anyone that's on the jury for our festival, I always say, watch the movie the way you watch movies. Don't be sitting there scratching your chin thinking, this is, where's the sound? Or that camera is a little off. Or like, don't be judging it as you're watching it. Just watch it.
Okay.
And all of the either perfections or imperfections are going to come out while you're watching it. Because you'll be watching it and be like, well, I can't quite hear that dialogue. Oh my God, I got to turn it down. Listen to the jump in audio. Then that becomes a note. Audio is not mixed. Maybe this isn't the final version, right? So that's the first step, is just watch movies the way you watch movies.
Okay, yeah. So kind of like that overall impression.
Yep. Which is, I think, the real way to do it, because that's how it's going to go out to the world. People are going to hit play and they're going to watch it and they're going to react to it.
Yeah.
As opposed to getting too wordy and heady on things.
Yes.
And then the next thing is if it's not your style of movie, you might not be into horror movies, but watch it. Can you see something there? Is there something like, whether it's technically great or there's a really good, I'm not into horrors, but wow, that was a great story. Mm-hmm. Then consider those things, right, as you're watching. We're the Hamilton Film Festival, so we want to earn the Hamilton in our title. So if there's something that's local, we flag it, because we want to make sure that we celebrate local movies, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's we put it on one of the smaller screens or at a different time that's not a prime time, we want to make sure that our local film community is supported that way, where they get the ability to see their work on screen.
Yeah, that's great.
I think it's important, and I don't shy away from that at all.
Yeah.
That we might judge a Hamilton film a little less harsh than we would something that's maybe technically better, or just better in general. And we're the Hamilton Film Festival, and that's we need to support our own in that way.
Yeah.
And we have lots of screen time, so it's not like another movie's going to get bumped out. We'll find a spot for great movies for sure. But yeah, so that's kind of the selection process. We don't care too much about genre or length.
Okay.
But there are things I can get into about lengths of where people should be aware of, when we're sitting on our side and we see something that...
Like what?
Well, a short film should be short, right? And
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And it, the 6 to 12 minutes are like amazing. They're really amazing because you can fill out a program of short films and fit a bunch of them in there. It's great for us because we can put a few more in, but it's great for the audience because you can spend your $10, $15, whatever it is, and see 10 movies in one sitting. And so when you get a short film that's 23 minutes, 37 minutes or something like that, it gets tricky because it eats away at a program. So it takes away from what the audience might get if they were to get, more short films.
Yeah, that's
and
really
it's also harder if you want to partner it with a feature.
Right.
You put a short film first and then you show a feature film. You can't do that with a 37-minute movie.
True, yes.
Having said that, we've received, especially from Europe, these brilliant dramas that are like in the 23 to 30 something, and they're just so good where it's like, we can't not show this.
Yeah.
We have to do it somehow. So like our international short films tend to be like 4 movies because they're all really long, but fantastic. So like short films should be short, and that could be the difference between a film getting in or not, because we got this great 10 films in here. We got maybe 7 more minutes so we could put in here.
That makes a lot of sense.
And if someone has not been to a film festival, typically there's a Q&A after the movie.
Yes.
So you have a 90-minute program. You leave maybe half an hour for a Q&A, and then you need a half an hour lead up so people can get into the theater and watch the next movie, right? So you start a movie at 7, Q&A at 8:30, end it just before 9. Now the next audience is coming at 9 for the 9:30 show.
Gotcha.
And that's, we have to structure it that way so we can show more movies, right? We want to make sure we get a lot of movies into the festival. So that is where, like, if it's a 90-minute program and now all of a sudden it's like 107 minutes, like, oh God, now our Q&A's shorter, but we have 10 filmmakers here. We got to talk to all 10 people. And in my head, I'm like, the clock is ticking and other people are waiting to come into the next show.
So you'll look for like common themes too, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And put together a little program around various things?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like last festival, we had one called Mothers and Daughters. One of our judges, Erin, she said, we got a lot of really good short films around the mother-daughter theme. You should think about doing a night.
Yeah, that's neat.
Mothers and daughters. I'm like, that's a great idea. So she curated it and put together this wonderful package. So we'll do that. We typically get comedies every year.
Yep.
And dramas and horrors or thrillers or something. So we'll package them like comedy shorts, drama shorts, Canadian shorts, international shorts. Those almost always come in, documentary shorts. But once in a while, there'll be like a specific theme that fits. When you're making your movie and you're like, I'm going to make a short film for the festival circuit. It's going to be 35 minutes long. It's okay. You've already eliminated yourself from a handful of festivals.
Wow, yeah, that's a
do
really
it for the
interesting
love
point.
of it. Don't not make that movie, but look around and make sure that there is a category for that 37-minute film.
Gotcha.
And like also in the one thing I see a lot of, and anyone especially my co-op students that have sat with me while we were, building the timelines for the short films, is like, if you have a 4-minute short film, there shouldn't be 2 minutes of credits on top of that.
Right.
I am big on a block of text as opposed to the scroll.
Right.
Because it's your buddy's song and you want to make sure the song plays.
Yeah.
And I look at like, that's only 4 minutes and there's 2 minutes of credits.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. There's no rules.
Yeah.
When you're independent short film, you don't have to have head credits either.
Right.
You don't have to have every actor because typically no one knows who you are.
Yes.
Like if it's an independent short film, you don't have to have this person starting. Just bang, get right into the movie. You're not under any union rules to put front end credits. Or if you are, then of course you have to have them. But mostly you don't have to do that. I know that people mimic what they see in the theater and they want to create that in their short film, but you don't have to.
Right.
So keep those credits short. And the feature, I get it because you got a lot of people and stuff.
Yeah.
But
It's the no rules aspect of the short film format that, as a viewer, is really scary. I always go to at least one of your short film programs every year, and like the thing is, you just never quite know what you're going to get. Right. And sometimes things are really disturbing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
sometimes things are funny, and they're all, depending on what the theme of the night is, they're all kind of put together. And so, yeah, it's like Russian roulette when you're watching sometimes, because it's. Yeah. And I know this year we brought one of our boys who's 14, and he's never been to anything quite like this. But he was the only one home that night, so I was like, "Get in the car, we're going." And there was some crazy stuff that.
So he'll either never be back or be back every year. Like, I want to see more of that.
It gave us lots to talk about after. Let's just say. But it was still really great to see.
Last year I said it, and this year I said it. Is that as an audience member, if you're going to a short film program, it's not an algorithm serving you.
Right.
It's not.
You got it.
Your phone is only going to serve you what you watched last, and that's terrible.
Yes.
Right. You need to have your eyes opened and your ears open.
That's
and your mind. Cleanse the creative palate.
Yes.
And go see a short film program, because it is not what you expect.
Yeah.
And that's the benefit, I think, of short films. Going to a film festival, right, is that you're going to get an audience that doesn't really know you. Like, you put it up on YouTube, and it's only going to go to people if their search terms match your movie.
Yep.
That's really, and if you got into the algorithm somehow, right? You've got a lot of views, and then people will stumble across it. Or if you get into a film festival, like, someone's going to see it.
Yeah.
And you're going to get those eyes.
No, it's true. And I think, there is a difference between, I think, what people think they want to see and what they should see.
Of course.
And everyone kind of wants the safe choice. They want to know what they're getting. Yeah. But I think as filmmakers, it's great to kind of challenge people a little bit.
Absolutely.
And send them some surprises, One of the things that I think is great about the Hamilton Film Festival is that, like, what I witness anyway, is that it seems like it's very much a filmmakers festival. And you tend to establish relationships with filmmakers. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of networking. Like, I don't know, I see you at some of the workshops and that, and I feel like somehow you establish a relationship with everyone that comes through these doors. Whereas, most festivals are kind of faceless, and you don't know the organizers, right? But you're right there. You're like, hey, come on in. You're talking. But at the same time, it's really well respected as a festival. And you've reached a point now where it's like Canadian Screen Awards qualifying, mm-hmm. and I think it's seen as a high quality opportunity.
Well, I hope so. Going back years ago, and I may have said this in one of the earlier episodes, is that the whole reason it was created is because I didn't want to drive to Toronto to see independent movies. I didn't want to drive to Toronto to go sit to watch a panel with filmmakers. So I thought, I want to bring it here. I want to make sure it's happening here in Hamilton. Yes. That was really the selfish motivation. So I always like to be involved. I get excited when a filmmaker's coming to town. I want to talk to them, and I want to hear about them, and I want to keep in touch with them. Yeah. Right. Pulling back the curtain, I say to a lot of the filmmakers at the end of the Q&As, I'm like, if you got something else to submit, reach out in advance, and you'll get a waiver code. Like, I don't want you paying anymore. You've been filtered. You've proven yourself. What you showed, what you sent is great. So it almost becomes like a little family in some way. Yeah, right? Well, I want them to succeed. I want this to be like a launch pad.
Sure.
When someone is thinking about submitting or making a movie and submitting to the film festival, which is generally in an independent world the first thing, start with how far you're willing to drive to a film festival.
Right.
And draw, put a pin where you live, and then draw a circle in that radius.
Right, okay.
And then find all the events in that circle.
Yeah.
Because you can attend those. You can actually make it to those. Because I think if you got to have a movie in a film festival and you're not there, it's like buying a booth at a trade show and not showing up.
Okay, fair point.
That's the way I think. I think of it as a business opportunity, as a marketing opportunity, not so much for like, I'm going to get awards, I'm going to get money. Mm-hmm. It's, I've just signed up for a conference in Hamilton, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to shake hands with people, and I'm going to meet people, and I'm going to say, oh, my movie's screening tomorrow night, come and see it, right?
Okay, yeah.
Think of it as that. If people switch their mindset to that, then it becomes interesting, because you'll pay all kinds of money to go to a weekend conference and not think about it.
Yeah.
But, for $15 or ticket, or your $25 submission fee or whatever it is, that's not a bad deal, because you're going to get access to everything.
That's true.
And if you think of it as the Hamilton Film Festival Conference Week, it's actually pretty low price you're paying for a submission fee if you get in, and then you get to attend and see. So I think if people change their mindset about festivals, as opposed to, we're going to show my movie, I spent my $50 and they show my movie and that's it. Well, you got to get something out of it. Right. And it's up to you to do it, right? No one's gonna do that for you. So a lot of people have taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
And they come here every year and they meet more and more people, and unions are formed, and they make movies together, and it's great. That's what we want to make sure that this environment is like that. So if you're a filmmaker and you're submitting to film festivals, change your mindset about, the value that they can give you.
Right.
And think of them as conferences that you're going to, not as just a film festival.
Sort of up to you as to what you get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so that's the one thing I think, draw, how far are you willing to go? And then pick a couple of destinations. Like I've always loved, I wanted to go to Vancouver, so I'm going to submit to a couple festivals in Vancouver.
Yeah.
If I get in, it's also a vacation.
Yeah, that's great.
But to blindly submit, I'm going to submit here, I'm going to submit there, without thinking, can I actually go there? Can I actually get something out of it, as opposed to just like a laurel?
Yeah.
Right? I think that's important when you're thinking of festival strategy.
Yeah, because there's a lot of festivals when you start going through like Film Freeway.
10,000 on Film Freeway, yeah.
I mean, that's just blown up.
Yep.
And I guess they all kind of have their little niche or whatever, but it's hard to choose.
Mm-hmm. And that's where in the release strategy you have to do your homework.
Yeah.
You want to submit to TIFF or Sundance. Everyone wants to do that. Everyone wants it. And then you got to think, like, is it ready for those festivals?
Yeah.
Have you seen some of the movies that they've shown?
Yeah.
And does your movie compare to that?
Right.
Have you had conversations in advance with those festivals where you might know that they're kind of looking your way? And then, you might save yourself a few $100s by saying, you know what, I'm not quite ready for that.
Yeah.
Because I've had people at the film festival, the Hamilton Film Festival, where we didn't accept their movie, like a drama short, I think it was.
Right, okay.
And they're very, very angry through email. And I just said, look, I'm going to give you a free ticket for the drama shorts.
Right.
I want you to come and watch what we've programmed.
Wow, that's
and just look at it, right?
Yeah.
And he came, and the first thing he said to me after he came out of the screening, he was telling me all the problems with his own movie.
Oh my gosh.
He was like, oh, the day we were shooting and the DP was this, and and I'm like, you're just telling me everything that I saw in your movie, and now you're realizing it. And then he's like, you know what, you're right. Like,
yeah, wow.
And sometimes that's what you should do in advance, is look at what they've shown, look at previous versions of that festival and think, does my movie stand up to that?
Right.
And I can save a lot of money if I don't just go blindly submitting to some things.
Okay, so somebody's starting with the festival in their release strategy. Now, you see a lot of films of various sizes, shapes, even TV content that premieres here and then goes on to another life.
Yep.
Maybe talk a bit about that type of thing, like some of the kind of higher profile things where this was one stop on their release.
Right. So some people will only submit to movies or like to Canadian Screen Award qualifying film festivals, or something that comes with something, and they don't look at anything else, because they have a strategy. They're like, if I'm a short film and I can get into 2 Canadian Screen Award qualifying film festivals, I can now put my nomination for an award. Okay, and that's a strategy. That is a great strategy to have, because you're laser focused. You're not wasting your money on anything else. Some people just want to meet people,
right?
In the case of a web series or a TV show, which we've had a number of. And I always send them, can I submit a TV show? And I send them an email back to them, and I say, why do you want to submit a TV show to us? I'll show it, but that's irrelevant. Why do you want to show it?
Yes, and is this the right fit, basically?
Yep, and if you can give me a great reason why you want to submit it, then of course you can, absolutely.
Yeah.
And generally what they say is, like, it's broadcast, but I want to see it with people. I want to hear what it sounds like in the theater. Like, are the laughs hitting? Are the cries hitting?
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's quite often why they want to do it, because TV is silent.
Right.
You don't hear what the audience is thinking, right? And you don't get that feedback. And that's why they want to see what it's like in the theater.
Yeah, that
I'm
is.
like, great answer.
I get that.
Submit
it's
it.
Such
Send
a
it our way.
Unique experience.
Yep.
Seeing it with an audience. It's scary. I don't think I ever sweat as much as I do when I'm watching it with a crowd of people.
Well, last year we partnered with local company Vortex Distribution.
Yes.
And to bring a Christmas movie.
Yep.
Like a Hallmark kind of movie.
Yeah,
right? Christmas movies that you only see on television. We did a screening in the audience. Like 300 people or something showed up.
Yeah, amazing.
And some of the cast members showed up and people from the production. And they said they loved it because they don't ever hear
Yeah.
hear what the audience reaction is.
Yeah.
Right. And to have people in the theater laughing and clapping and stuff is a very different experience.
Yes.
Very unique, right? If something is set for television.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
that's why I do love showing things that are meant for TV.
Yeah.
But I want the filmmaker to tell me that that's the reason they want.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's also a marketing aspect, apart from just setting up screenings or having a broadcast or whatever else. There is a certain amount of PR that needs to accompany this process.
After they've done their festival run and either gathered their laurels or awards or their qualifiers, then it's the next set of audience that they want to see. Some of these movies already have distribution in line.
Yep.
Which was the case with, I think, the Martini Shot that we showed last year, the Matthew Modine movie, right? And this gives them a little bit of push for the next thing. We were in this festival, that festival, we won awards here, there. And that gives a bit more, publicity, something that the marketing team can use when they're promoting this movie wherever it's going to live next. Taking stock of what you just gathered through the festival circuit and now figuring out where it's going to live next.
Right.
For a short film, there's not a lot of places that it can go. There's only a handful, I think, of places where you can really take it after the festival market because everything's free.
Right.
Like short films, you can watch as many as you want on YouTube or Vimeo.
Yeah.
They're all out there. So it's very difficult to get a distributor for short films. I know What Media here in Canada, they do distribute short films. I had one of my short films through them, but their model has shifted now to like Academy Award winning type short films.
Yes.
Right? That's what they pick up.
Yeah.
So there's only a handful. So as a short
By the way, I'm just going to do a small promotion for you because you did a film called Air Knob a bunch of years ago.
Yeah.
AIRKNOB.
Yep. Air Knob. Right.
Search it up. If you haven't seen it already, it's hilarious. It has Nathan in it playing two roles.
Yeah.
And it's just a great, really well-structured, great storytelling, no dialogue, nice piece. And it had a really good life, right?
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It went from short film directly into distribution.
Yes.
So it actually bypassed the festivals right off the bat.
Okay, there you go.
It went straight to distribute. Now this doesn't happen anymore.
Right,
It
this
just
model
happened
is
to be
changing.
that time before streaming and stuff became the place where short films lived.
Yeah.
And it got purchased by like Sundance Channel Canada and Moviola, and it was on Air Canada. The facts.
I've never heard any of those.
Things like, no, that's where it lived. But then from that,
Yeah.
the distributor actually got it into film festivals, went through the distributor.
Okay. So it's the other direction.
I received a thing, oh, you're in the film festival in Morocco, you're in Korea. And I'm like, you're in Hawaii. And I'm like, I didn't even submit to those. Distributors are amazing.
I'm not there.
So it actually got into a lot of film festivals just from their doing. They
that's
already
very
had
cool.
connections, right?
Yeah.
So it went that way. And then after that, it just lived online.
Sure. And probably for a short film, you might do a couple festivals, but usually it's sort of end game is as a calling card.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want it to be something bigger down the road. So typically with a short film, you're just going to put it up somewhere.
Right.
So you have to make that decision in the releases where that somewhere is.
Yeah.
Is it going to be YouTube or Vimeo? Those are really the two. There's a lot of people now starting Roku channels.
Oh,
So
right.
there is a distribution arm that way where you could find someone who has created one of those channels and maybe get it on one of those curated lists. And that's, again, it goes against the algorithm, which is great. So people might take a chance and just sit and watch a block of shorts.
Yeah.
But even then, just because it's on YouTube or wherever, it doesn't mean people are going to watch it.
No.
And just like you said with marketing, is how are people going to see it once it's on those channels? Are you going to hashtag it or what?
Yeah. I mean, with that type of thing, if it's not, necessarily monetized, if it is more as a calling card, it's not always about volume of viewers. Right. It's sometimes just the right person. I have had people, I'm involved with a project now where the folks said to me, I knew them before, but I guess maybe they didn't see me in this way or whatever, but they said to me recently, we thought of you for this project because of a short film we saw of yours. I was like, oh, okay, good. At least it wasn't for nothing.
Yeah, well, and that's good. That's the good thing about having things live online.
Yeah.
What have you done before? Bang, here's the link.
There it is,
Right?
yeah.
Or support material for a grant, right? You have to have some material you can show. And speaking about living online, there's a whole new shift now with these like Instagram Reels, TikTok Reels.
Yes, right.
Where we had a film back in I think it was 17, Adriano Valentini, who submits something every year to the festival. He's from Hamilton, lives in LA. Great filmmaker, does really great stuff, funny stuff. He had a show called Little Italy, and it was a short film. And just recently took that short project and broke it up into these little 1 minute kind of things, and it's blown up.
Really?
Like 40 million views within a few days or something.
Oh my gosh.
It actually got a brand new life, taking existing content from years ago and conforming it to a new platform and style.
Yeah. I think we're seeing more and more of this type of thing. You know, even on a sort of larger scale, maybe you take a movie like Blackberry, came into the theaters, did its theatrical run as a 2-hour film. Now it's on CBC as a series. I think they split it into 3 parts or something. They added new footage, and that was sort of the marketing angle.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was part of the plan from the beginning, but I think more and more we're seeing things kind of get repurposed, restructured, to fit in various platforms.
Mm-hmm. And even we showed a web series this year, Bike, by Terrence Odette.
Yes,
and part of his plan was make this series.
Yep.
But then eventually, I'll just put it together. Now I've got a feature film as well.
Right. And to get the money, he needed it to be a series.
Yeah.
But his sort of long-term goal is a feature.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's a great way. If you're open to the idea of your longer project being cut up into bite-sized things. Some people might not like that at all. Like, my art is 15 minutes long. My art is an hour and 20 minutes long, and that's it. That's the only way I want people to see it. But there is it's the discoverability, right?
Discoverability,
that discoverability package that you might think, can I break this up into chunks? Can I make this, segment this in a way that will reach a different audience or more of an audience? And you might hate the idea, but it's there. The opportunity is there, right? You don't have to take it. Absolutely. Now, I know your movie is on Apple. You have a movie that's available to rent through Apple?
I think
iTunes,
so. I believe it
iTunes
is.
Store? Artless.
I know it's on Amazon.
And I've got Foyer on Vimeo.
Right.
So I'll be completely honest with sales now. We'll talk about marketing. So
if you want it to be a financial success, I think there has to be a significant marketing push with it, right? You can't just put it somewhere,
correct,
and nobody knows about it. But there are, sort of do-it-yourself aggregators out there. I think if you are the type of filmmaker that can start building that audience early on, or maybe already have a following of some sort, and people who are interested in what you're doing, then you can bypass some of that distribution middle people.
Yep.
And just go directly. And I think we're seeing more and more of that happening. I think filmmakers and movies in general, the more people can look at them as their own brand entities, the more independence they'll have as a filmmaker. Do you know what I mean? You really are building a brand. And that's where, like, whenever I look at a project, I often sort of think about this idea of, like, what I call kind of the greater metaphor. And it's like, beyond just the story that's on the page or going to be in the film, what about that triggers an audience? What about that it sort of fits into a niche out there? Do you know what I mean? Like, the more you can kind of build that story around your story of your process of making it, I think the more you can sort of build it as its own brand or build your own personal brand. Otherwise, you're kind of handing it off to a distributor who may or may not give it the attention you think it deserves, right? They may not have a lot of marketing dollars. It may just be part of a catalog that they have. But yeah, sometimes just because it's with a distributor doesn't mean that that's the most financially fruitful either.
Right. And, just to be clear, I've had a number of discussions with people who've had films in distribution. They say that's horrible.
Yeah.
They can see that it's making money, but they're not getting any money back.
Yeah.
Because of the way the contract is structured.
Sure.
And then there's others that say that's great. They've had a great experience. And I had an amazing experience with What Media, with Airknob and The Split. Everything was very clear, very transparent. They're the communication was wide open. It was fantastic. I had nothing but great things to say about them. With what you're saying about that is, some people will attach to a distributor on the early side because it can trigger funding, right?
Yeah.
And that might be one of the reasons why that relationship exists is to get some funding triggered with not really much of an expectation that there's going to be a huge back end. Is that fair to say, maybe?
Conversations
we've
I
had
think
with
that's
people?
fair. Yeah, there are certain distributors or even broadcasters who they know, they're like, we'll find a place for it in our schedule if you need it to trigger credits.
Right.
You may not get a huge license fee, but sometimes those tax credits can make it all worthwhile.
Right.
Like that might be the link that makes it all work for you. So they kind of know their place, but you're not going to get a lot else out of it. This is all comes back to that idea of like deciding why you're doing this project in the first place.
Yeah.
And if it is really about that financial motivation, then that you're probably going to, from the beginning, be looking for some star power on some level. And depending on where it ends up, we'll decide what type of star power you're looking for.
Right.
You're going to get somebody different if you're planning to sell it to Hallmark Channel than if you're planning to sell it to AMC. I don't.
Yeah, and there's a number of stories throughout. When I first started getting into filmmaking, of filmmakers that corner an actor in an airport, like, "Will you be in my movie? Will you just do?" And
yeah,
it's
you
worked.
hear that. Yeah, I know.
What was the movie called? I think it was called Mute Witness.
Yeah,
where they cornered Alec Guinness somehow.
Right.
And they got him to do a quick scene in their movie, like this independent film, and like a limo rolls up and the window comes down. It's Alec Guinness in there, and he says a line and it drives away.
Right.
And then he's credited, Alec Guinness is in this movie.
Oh my gosh.
But even in Canada, there's been a handful of stories where they ask somebody, can you just be in this film?
Sure.
And they do it. So it's possible.
Yeah. So I always feel like every film sort of has an identity. And this is where like the development stage and the release stage kind of fit together. And it includes, the right budget for the right story with the right people, released in the right way. Do you know what I mean? And if you really stop and look around at other films that are out there that kind of might be similar in some nature to what you're doing, and just really get a sense for the big picture on them and how they fit all those pieces together, because there's a scenario I think that works for everything.
I think it comes down to two things that filmmakers want. They want people to see their work, and they want to make some money.
Sure.
I don't know if there's anything else.
And they want to express themselves.
Right. So it's figuring out how to do those things. How are people going to see this, and is there a way to make money off of this?
Yeah.
And I'll be happy if I get one of them, right?
Right, yeah.
Getting both is tricky to do. But I think, with the independent filmmaker, is people want to be heard. They want to show their creativity. They want their work on the fridge, right?
Yeah, that yearning inside. You just got to get it out.
Absolutely.
And then if you can get it out in a way that does all those other things too, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'll have cracked that code. And then by the time you go to do your next movie, the industry will change completely, and you start back at day one. You're back at ground zero.
I think you're absolutely right. I know there's lots more we could talk about on this and all of these topics. This is the conclusion of our first season.
Yeah.
Which is fun and exciting. We have lots more to cover in season 2, and we've got some guests lined up and some exciting topics to dive into. On
Jeremy and Nathan's Canadian filmmaking adventure.
So many adventures.
It continues.
Yes. So thanks so much for tuning in, Nathan. It's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great talking to you. It's nice that people get to kind of sit in on our average coffee shop conversation might actually be.
It really is.
This is pretty much what we talk about.
It pretty much is, yeah.
And if there's anything you want us to talk about, or if there's something you're interested in knowing, let us know. info@hamiltonfilmfestival.com, and we'll see what we can come up with. Answer your questions.
All right, and thanks so much for listening. We'll see you again in the future very soon.
See you in season 2.